It was interesting. When I came to Rocky Mountain this year,
Yep.
and we sat down for the demonstration of the atmosphere, and I had no idea what to expect. And my takeaway was, okay, I'm making a video of this. And it's going to be, like a lot of the synergistic research videos that we've done, they get a lot of views, and people are interested in your products. There's an air of, well, how does that work?
There's literally thousands of synergistic research users out there,
Mm-hmm.
and these people are happy with their products. That's why they're synergistic research users, and they know that the products work. We do make every effort we can to make the products readily available for people to try in their homes. So there's no risk, to try the product and see if it works for you as we believe it will work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we continue to grow year in, year out as a result of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny because after the show, we put the video up, and I started to push the video out on Google+. Terry pushes it out on Twitter. We had I put it up on What's Best Forum, which is one of the more elite forums for high-performance audio out there. And I'm kind of lurk there a good bit, and I read it, every couple hours or so for fun. And so I put the embed of the video up there. So it said Synergistic Research. I forget what my title was for the thread. And
I won't believe this.
Yeah, right. And people got on the thread, and they started going back and forth. And one big, heavy-hitting audiophile from the Pacific Northwest. I mean, he must have had expensive headphones, and he's focusing down. I'm assuming on his, and listening, in the dark. And he swore he heard a difference. And I didn't know what to do about the thread. I thought, well, are you really going to hear a difference on video? And this is where I wanted to clarify things right now as we get into shooting this video. Ted isn't sure. Say.
I don't know if it will imprint onto a microphone on a camcorder. It's not an experiment that we have conducted. We haven't run DiffMaker to see if we can hear a difference.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really not the point.
Because I thought that too, because I thought, well, if I get up on the circuit, because I myself, I'm a flat earther at heart. I have to be shown. When Peter, Ted's sister, came in and installed the HFTs here last year, I looked at these little things and I just thought, what am I going to do? How are they going to possibly make a difference in this room? You see this room, it's not a man cave. We have art on the wall, we have doodad boxes to house the equipment. Stuff's constantly coming in and out of the system. It's not a permanent setup, so there's things always moving around. I can't keep it steady because we do what we do. So we put these things up and we did it before and after. And the before was we played a track, and I think it might have even been the same track Ted and I just played. It's an old Andreas Vollenweider track. And then turn the track off. Peter did his install, and I'm working the camera, and I'm watching. I'm trying to swing the camera around, and we sit down after the install, and I go, so I didn't say anything to Peter. I said, my voice sounds different. And that came from experience.
No, the voice does sound
my voice
very, very different.
in the room. I called you on the phone 3 days ago before coming in, and I said, I said, well, how big a difference are they going to make, Ted? How big? What is Atmosphere going to do? What did you tell me versus the HFTs?
It's a much bigger difference than the HFTs and the FEQ. Although they work together. I mean, Atmosphere without HFTs is like peanut butter and jelly without the peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
So they really do work together. The Atmosphere excites the HFTs around the room,
mm-hmm.
and just as the FEQ does.
Mm-hmm.
But the FEQ is operating on one channel at one frequency, and it's a very small footprint. The Atmosphere is very large. It's operating on two channels, multiple frequencies, multiple phase differentials between the two channels.
Mm-hmm.
There's over 4,000 phase point differences between the two channels that can be set up.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, the end user doesn't have to worry with over 1 million different setting options for Atmosphere. It's handled by the application, which we'll get into.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a significant next level product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now the shape of this. This is an option.
Atmosphere tuning module.
The tuning module. The tuning module is sold separately,
mm-hmm.
and it comes in different flavors, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, right now there's the red ATM Atmosphere tuning module, and there's a little QR code on the back, which you scan with your iPad, iPhone, iPod Touch, and soon Android device. And it opens up new scenes specifically voiced for the ATM that you have, or the Atmosphere tuning module. The Atmosphere tuning module can sit on top of Atmosphere. Like the HFTs, it can also be used by itself. You can put it on top of your rack. You can put one on top of each speaker. And each ATM, based on its color designation, does different things in the room. It creates a different environment, a sonic environment. And then with the application that controls the Atmosphere, you can tune what Atmosphere is doing very specifically. We include a brief synopsis down here of what each scene is going to do. You listen, and most people will agree that what they hear corresponds with what they're reading. And these are essentially, under the surface, you're affecting many different changes in the way Atmosphere transmits depending on which scene you select.
Now, for people who are skeptical about this, rest assured, this is not in your. This is not in the system. We're not plugging the output of an amplifier into this. This is not wired into the system. It does share the ground.
Plugs in with a USB cable into the wall and a ground wire.
That's it. Ground wire. Yeah.
And then talks through Bluetooth to the iPad app, which you download on the Apple App Store at Apple. Well, and the way we came about it was, what I was looking for was the next step above the FEQ. And we knew that we could deal with more than just one frequency as we do with the FEQ. And we found out somewhat accidentally that if we had two amplifiers broadcasting on two separate channels, that if you make a change between these two channels, they're not identical to one another, that you get a difference in sound. And then we were able to correlate predictable outcomes based on these differences. So that if you want a tightly focused soundstage, you can have that. If the music calls for wide open, expansive soundstage, you can have that. If you want the soundstage primarily deep and behind your speakers, wall to wall, floor to ceiling, you can have that. If you want a sense of envelopment, where you're in the performance, you can have that as well. There's very little that we can't do with Atmosphere, and then from time to time, we will have upgrades to the application that you can download. When you go to your iPod, you'll see there's an update to the application. And there will be new scenes available for your Atmosphere. I'm even developing an ATM for systems that have a lot of glass in the room. The Red Atmosphere tuning module, though, works very well in a system with a lot of glass. But I'm going to also develop one specifically for that application, because that's a real killer for a lot of high-end systems. You've got a lot of glass. Obviously, you don't want to obstruct your view with large pillars that absorb sound or absorbing surfaces. This enables you to have an incredible high-end stereo and look out at Manhattan if you've got a penthouse in Manhattan, so or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, we're just at the beginning of our demonstration here today, and we plugged it in. It had been plugged in. Ted recommends an hour for the effect, if we're to charge up or whatever it is indeed doing. And we played a second track on our demo disc here, and we had it in. And I know this track. I play it all the time. I have the system dialed in. The speakers have not changed positions since we did final setup a month and a half ago. So this is, I know this back of my hand. And I heard this huge, much more envelopment of the stage. And I heard more articulation and separation in the voices of the track. And it hadn't even warmed up. I think in audio, I think we're, at least the people who are really into exploring the outer limits of audio and how much you can fall and dig into your music and have your music wrap around your head like we have in this listening room here.
Or emotional connection.
The connectivity.
How do you quantify that?
Yeah.
Why one system is communicates the emotion of the music so much better than another system? How do you quantify that? It definitely occurs. Perhaps not for people who won't listen, but for people who do listen, and most people who own a very high-end system, and have spent time setting it up, they know that they get the system to a certain point, and they're listening to a lot more music.
It's interesting because the people who do that, I call them the careful listeners, the passionate listeners, are more open-minded to products such as the HFTs or now the Atmosphere.
The cool thing about high-end audio is it brings into relief exactly the limitations where we are in terms of the cutting edge of science and electronics, in that you can listen to a system and hear things that there is no known way to quantify through test measurements, but you hear the difference. And it's repeatable. You bring 10 people into the room, they don't know what they're listening to, you ask them some questions, they pretty much all hear the same thing. This brings into relief the limitations of where we are with science and measurements. And for people who hold science as a religion, they freak out. You know, it's like a crusade for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the heart of this is we go back and forth on the internet boards. There's
DBT jihadists.
All the time. I mean, it doesn't matter what board you're on. It's someone's going to put a new post up every 3 or 4 days, and this is going to surface.
Well, no, but this small group of people, they will post every day for 6 months. But when a product is made available to them, they won't try it for a weekend and just listen to it. But they will post multiple times a day for 6 months.
And see, that's the thing, is if you haven't heard it and then you postulate about something, well, that isn't going to, all you're going to do is just push your own beliefs without having anything to substantiate it across.
Well, one of the interesting things, you remember Julian Hirsch and stereo?
Sure do.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're out of business now. Yeah. But when I got into the hobby in the 80s, when I was still in school, still in high school, and I was an audiophile. At first I didn't know about stereophile and TAS, and I read Stereo Review. And I came to the conclusion this is a worthless magazine. All they did was post test measurements. Everything sounded great, and he was sorry to box the speakers up and have to send them back. That was pretty much the shtick.
Yeah, I mean, I would go through the magazines just trying to find a sentence.
Well, and then I remember when I found Harry's magazine.
Yeah, I do too. Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for. These guys are talking about the way the dish tastes, the way the stereo sounds, and that's for me. But there does seem to be a group of people out there that are longing for a stereo review approach to audio. But the interesting thing is this. You take a look at the electronics of the 1970s and 80s, early 80s, the solid state gear, measured incredibly well. You know, 0.000000, you know, on harmonic distortion.
PhD, yep.
You can't pay people to listen to that stuff now. It's a boat anchor. It has almost no resale value, no market value. What do people want? The older stuff that didn't measure that well.
Well, that's
what's worth money today.
That's exactly right.
Because it sounds good.
That's exactly it. I mean, that's a real good way of arguing back with these double-blind tests, and all things sound the same.
Which is a test designed to prove their dogma.
Yeah. I mean,
that everything sounds alike.
You go back and get a Sansui receiver from 1974. And then you see, and then go Google them, or better yet, go to eBay and go type in the Sansui receiver, and then hit completed auctions, okay? And now look, the whole box will drop down. There'll be all these Sansui receivers that just sold within the past 2 weeks. Now compare that to a Macintosh tube receiver.
Yeah.
And then look at the price differentials.
But there won't be all these Sansuis that sold.
Well,
they just keep getting reposted. Nobody wants to listen to it. It's horrible. It's just not good.
But my point was, you'll see the Sansuis will sell for $175, and the Macintosh will
sell for $1,000.
Will sell for $1,000 or thousands.
Correct.
So that's a good way of looking at it. And I don't know, you get on the boards and you shake your head and you look at it. There's another post about this, or there's a post about synergistic research and what are they doing, and they're frauds.
You know, the funny thing though is when we build a cable or we build anything, we build dozens of variations, and it's marked with a random alphanumeric code, so that we don't know what's inside. everything looks the same. Cable looks identical, but it's composed of something different inside. We don't know what it is. And we'll do listening tests over several months to dozens of variations until we get enough data points in blind listening tests to draw conclusions. So we employ the scientific method when we develop our products, but our primary test criteria is what we hear. And I don't really care if that appeals to guys who trust electronics that they buy at Fry's, test gear that they buy at Fry's, more than their own ears. To me, that's as ridiculous. It's as ridiculous to me the way they go about audio as I assume what I'm doing is ridiculous to them.
Well, this is going to be an interesting video. Stay tuned. We're going to get more into it. We're going to let you listen. Again, we're not 100% sure, and there's no guarantee that this is going to map over or print into the microphone. So if you hear it, please post that you do on YouTube. And
Or if you don't.
yeah, or if you don't hear it, you can say, you guys, okay, I understand why I don't hear it. So then if you don't hear it, look at my eyes and my facial expressions. Am I telling the truth? I always do. So that's what we're here for.
Yep.
Okay?
All right.
Let's do some more
Let's have
listening.
some fun.
Let's have some fun. Let's let it warm up.
Okay.
Okay?